So I had some questions about mushrooms. Hi, my name is Holly. I make mushroom art with the brand Susrooms. As I've been doing deep dives on actual types of mushrooms and then making them into art, I've really been curious on how a lot of mushrooms work. There's a lot of weird things about mushrooms that almost feel like magic, like where did they come from? What even is a mushroom? How long do they live? What's the largest mushroom on the planet? What's the smallest one? I'm gonna answer all of those questions today. I've just got a lot of questions. So, all that to say, let's get into these questions. One of the major questions that I had was, what even is a mushroom and where does it come from? I have recently seen a bunch just pop up seemingly out of nowhere after some rain, and I've never really looked into it before, and so I did some research, and this is what I found. Basically, a mushroom is actually the fruit. So from a very small seed basically comes the spore. Spores are released from the mushroom, just like most any other plant. If you think about it, the mushroom is actually the apple in a very big underground system, but it could be viewed as an apple to an apple tree. Instead of seeing this visible organism, it's all very much underground. The roots of a mushroom are actually called mycelium, and whenever they go underground, they start to form a whole entire network, which is interesting. The thread-like filament is actually called the hyphae, and the main part of the fungus is actually the mycelium. So it comes from a tiny spore. It starts to manifest, and then whenever temperatures are right, everything is in right conditions, it will actually sprout up, and that's where the mushrooms actually come from. These tiny spores are similar to a seed in an apple, and the mushroom itself is the apple. So this kind of raises a couple of questions that kind of have me on a rabbit trail. This brings me to my second question. How long do mushrooms live? Whenever I passed by a couple mushrooms seemingly sprouting up out of nowhere, I was really excited to identify them and see what they look like as a baby, what they look like in their maturity, and I was also surprised to see how fast they died. I was like, no. Also, my neighbor mowed over them. I was pretty sad. I was kind of curious because it had only been about a week and that mushroom was gone. It was starting to decay already. So how long do mushrooms actually live? Well, the fruiting body of the mushroom that we see visibly only lasts for a few days. Sometimes it can live for a few weeks, but its only purpose is really to spread its spores. Kind of like how an apple is released from the tree and it has seeds inside of it ready to reproduce more apple trees. The only difference from an apple tree and a mushroom in that sense is that the mushroom actually releases it in the wind. Have y'all ever seen those videos where there's random dust floating off from a mushroom? Yeah, those are spores. Yeah, that's crazy. That's insane. They're so tiny, but in mass numbers, it looks like literal smoke. And so that's why before plucking a mushroom from the ground, you're supposed to hit it so it releases its spores so that it can reproduce. But on the other hand, the mycelium, the actual fungus underground, it actually can live for so long. It literally says years, decades, or even centuries. Apparently, mycelium networks are the oldest living organism on the earth. What? That's actually so crazy. They can expand underground. Oh my gosh. So I was also curious. I'm like, well, how many mushroom species are there? Apparently, there are over 14,000 species of mushrooms that produce fungi. That's so crazy, 14,000. Yeah, I've got a lot of cards to make, y'all. If you didn't know, I actually make these mushroom collector's cards based on the type of mushroom that it is. I send off a monthly mushroom club, send off a couple stickers that I created, but yeah, 14,000. I'll be doing this for a while, guys. Here's another question. What is a fairy ring? I recently learned this whenever I was doing one of my Meet the Mushroom episodes on the shaggy parasol. I actually had those actual types of mushrooms in my yard, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's a shaggy parasol. I know what that mushroom is. Well, anyways, I saw some, not in a perfect circle, but my friend sent me a video of this massive circle, but it's basically called a fairy ring because mushrooms do this like perfect circle or like a circle-like structure. I just learned that inside of the circle is usually dead grass because that mushroom or mycelium is actually using up all of the nutrients from the ground to sprout up all of these mushrooms. I'm guessing that it's in the shape of a circle sometimes because that's just how far it can spread. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. I also am kind of sad that they don't live for very long, but man, that's so cool. I'm planning on getting a tattoo of a fairy ring at some point around my arm right here. I think it would be so cool. I will keep you updated when and if that happens. Guys, I did all this research a bit ago, so I'm like rereading it all. This is shocking. My next question was, what is the biggest mushroom on the earth? And this one right here that I'm reading about, I'll read it to y'all. What the heck? The largest mushroom organism underground is called the Armorillia ostiae, which is a honey mushroom located in Oregon's Malheur National Forest. It's a massive mycelia that covers 2,385 acres or 9.65 square kilometers for everyone that's on the United States. Oh my gosh, it's estimated to be 8,650 years old. It's also called the humongous fungus. Yes, that's actually so crazy. There's no telling, I mean, okay, if these are actually underground, there's no telling how big they could be. And also, like, how do we know that this is the biggest one? Like, have we searched the entire earth underground? No. Humongous fungus? Ah! He is definitely going to have to be one of my mushroom characters. Absolutely 100%. Yeah, that character is going to be pretty powerful. To go along with the biggest mushroom, I wanted to know what the smallest mushroom was. This one is called Mycena subcyancephala, which is only 1 millimeter tall. Like, she's a baby, oh my god. And it is found on wood in tropical parts of Taiwan. Oh my goodness. Okay, I knew that some mushrooms can be like really, really, really tiny. I've seen a couple videos of people being like, oh, I found this mushroom. And then they zoom in on it and it's literally like smaller than your fingernail. And I'm like, how did you see that? How did you find it? Mushrooms are so cool, guys. Mushrooms are so cool and freaky and scary, and I love it. I love it. If you liked this video, you can always watch some more mushroom videos. I've been doing this series on different types of mushrooms called Meet the Mushroom. I just basically pick one and go with it, do a deep dive into all that mushroom has to offer. And then at the end of those videos, I always show my art because I always make art based on that mushroom and then I make it into like a funny character. I currently have a mushroom club like I mentioned, and if you are interested, I may have a few more spots left if you want to see the link in my description for my Patreon. If you would like to see any of my actual mushroom art, you can visit susrooms.com, or if you want to stay connected with me, you can follow me at Susrooms. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, I'm Holly. I make mushroom art on the internet, and I'll catch you in the next video. Also, this is a new shirt, guys. Here's the fit. Here's the fit. Yeah. Here's the socks match. Okay, bye.